Hello everyone, this is Reggie time, and for today's video we're going to be reviewing a session I played this morning of 13L at the snap tables. This is something that I will typically do with people who are part of my study group, maybe once or twice per week, in addition to the sessions that they have already paid for with me. Kind of just like a bit of an added extra for people who are part of the group, alongside the other things that we do, which is also just obviously chatting in Skype, my being available in Skype, etc. throughout the week. So yeah, it's just another way that I add value to the service that I provide to the people that are kind enough to put the faith in me. In this session, there's going to be James, who some of you might be familiar with, Ryan, who some of you might be, and a new student called Samir. And Jürgen too. So there's going to be 4 voices to hear. I'm not sure how conversational some of the guys will be, but hopefully everyone will have a say, and hopefully you can get a feel for how things work in my group sessions, and also just enjoy the video for the hands that come up and the discussion that's involved. So next voices you'll hear will be everybody involved, and we'll just be getting on with playing the video. So I think there's around 30 minutes footage here. We're playing it on double speed, so I'll have to be a little bit trigger happy with the pausing and stuff. But if you do see anything, guys, just sing out. There are some, maybe 2 or 3 interesting spots at least that I can remember, and maybe some more. But if you see anything at all, like any small pots, any sizing things you're not sure about, or any players that make big or small, doesn't have to be a big pot. How have you been finding the snap games, James, just while we're in before anything happens?
Yeah, I'm sort of getting used to them now. They're definitely weaker than the softer than the stars ones. You can get folds, you know. It's sort of between Sky and stars, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say
Sky,
so.
I was playing Sky today. You just don't get any folds.
No, I'd say it's like this, without question, it's the softest version of speed poker out there for EU people. It's still not as soft as like 25 of those zones, significantly softer than this. But for those in the EU, it's I think it's the best option by a long way in terms of speed poker. And there's just like plenty of just like middle stacking, short stacking fish around it that aren't playing like a traditional short stack strategy.
Yeah.
Which they're just fish, basically. Some of them are like, I mean, like for example, we've got Pork Roll there, who's got tagged as a fish. He's only like 26-11, but that's still fishy enough, you know. He's just not a good regular. He's just passive. He's just not that good. So there's tons and tons of those guys around, and then there's plenty of just flat out fish as well. So here's the first spot. We've opened the ace-5, we've flopped 2 pair. Not sure if anything interesting happens or not, to be honest. Right, no, well, let's go back to this right table actually, because this is quite an interesting river spot. I thought, just keep rewinding back. So we've gone through the flop, it's checked through. You're on that board texture against.
What was the pre-flop action here? That's the part I missed.
With the ace jack, I just raised under the gun 2 3x,
and so you got called.
Since called in the small blind, and the flop checked through.
Why not c-bet that flop since you got air here?
Because I haven't got air. I've got showdown value.
Okay.
If he's got like king, queen, jack, all those kind of things, I've got enough showdown value. And what are we trying to make fold by c-betting?
I had a c-bet that with overcards in the backdoor flush draw.
If we had the ace of diamonds, I would absolutely have c-bet. But I think not having the ace of diamonds makes like a bit of a difference to me. But if you c-betting, what are you hoping he folds?
Well, I guess I'm just hoping that I'm not losing initiative in the pot, because then if a blank comes on the turn and I'm facing a bet from the small blind, I probably would have wished I would have kept initiative and folded out hands that I might be beating but still have equity drawing against me, you know, like a king-queen type hand.
Yeah, but I mean, king-queen's got equity, but he's not got that much equity, and he's out of position. It's going to be hard to realise it. I understand what you're saying, and this is a spot where I sometimes do c-bet. But I just think it's not the greatest board texture. I don't think we're getting folds from any pairs in that flop, even
Yeah,
like
that's a
pocket
good
threes and
point.
stuff. I just don't think they're folding pocket threes. I think people still peel sometimes with king queen as well. So it's not like they're always going to fold even like slivers of equities. Yeah, we'll value betting in against king queen, but it gets super thin. I think the fact is we just have like plenty of showdown value. If I'd raise with say a 10-9 suited here or something, well, 10-9, that's a good shot. If I'd raise like a 10-jack suited here and like 10-jack of hearts or something, there's a better chance that I would bet, because then I can get him to fold ace high, king high, queen high, things like that, things that's beating us. But I think when we have ace jack here, I think we just about have enough showdown value to at least check one street and then see what happens. I mean, I could be. I'm not saying that's definitely right. That's just how I approach
That
spots
makes
like
sense.
this.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So then we get to the turn, and I think he leads out. So now, what are your thoughts?
That would be like.
I wish I'd see bet.
Yeah, that's exactly why I would want to see that.
Because I'm like, think like Ryan, you give up initiative, and as soon as you do it, they start betting. But
yeah, I would rather be the one betting than the one calling, just personally, even if it's like, because here it's sort of hard now to, his to me, I would think his range widens, like maybe he's got eights, or maybe he's got, well, maybe not eights because he probably would have bet that flop, but, something that just makes it a little more difficult for me to play or think about rather than retaining the initiative there.
Yeah, I think you can have tons of pocket pairs here. I agree with you, Ryan. I think you can have anything from like 4s through 9s, 10s maybe. I think not Jackson betters unlikely. We block pocket Jackson. Pocket queens might be 3 bets a lot pre-flop. So I think you can have like 4s through 9s quite often. But I think you can have just like a lot of stabs too, like king queen, king jack, jack queen, like worse aces. I mean, I don't think he necessarily has to be bluffing here like all the time. I think we're getting, what are we getting, like 2 and a bit to 1 on the call, like 2.5 to 1, a bit more maybe. But I think we could just call here and see what happens on the river. I mean, we still got, if he has got like a pair like 4s through 9s, we've still got like maybe 13-14% equity against that, and maybe we can bluff on an overcard. Maybe if it comes like a king or a queen, we can bluff if he checks to us too. So we've got some bluffing outs as well if he just like checks the river to us. So I don't think it's like a completely lost cause just yet. And this is a spot where I will frequently call on the turn just because I've checked back the flop. And then oftentimes I get owned by pairs. So I'm on board exactly what you're saying, but at the same time, I think if we check back the flop, we probably can't just fold the turn. And I think I call. I think I remember this hand quite well actually, because the river's quite interesting. If you just remember his like sizing here on the turn, on the flop. And then, I mean, is that a good river for us or a bad river for us?
I think that's a good river.
Yeah, it's got to be good.
I think it's going to be quite good. So what do you think, if he bets this river, what do you think his range is going to look like?
Pocket pairs or air.
Or possibly, if he bets here, I would think an ace or some kind of pocket pair or a bluff. But I think that card definitely makes it like positive EV, I think, in the long run to call here, because a lot of the times you're either going to like give up a chopped pot if you fold, or you're just going to fold to a lot of bluffs here.
I mean, my problem with this is I don't know. Sin was a completely new player to me, so I had no idea if he was good, bad, or whatever in the middle. I think a good player here would still maybe value bet a hand like pocket 4s and pocket 5s, hoping to get heroed by ace high. If I don't think a bad player would though. I don't think a bad player would bet 6x here. I don't think they bet pocket 4s, pocket 5s. They might bet like 8s, 9s and 10s still. But I think his range for betting the river is going to be much more polarised in his range for betting the turn. I think he's going to, a lot of the pairs he bets a turn with, I think he's going to check on this river to either bluff catch or just give up with. Like pocket 8s here, good players would value bet for sure, I would imagine. And I imagine some like worse regulars and weaker players would check call with pocket 8s. So that's kind of how I got to my reasoning on the river. He like makes quite a big bet, I think, on the river. So he's bet like 3/4 pot on the river. And my thinking was, if he's good, he could be going for thin value, and I could look like a complete tool if I call. But if he's bad, he's probably got quite a lot of bluffs and like just like really strong hands and bluffs in his range, like 7x. I don't think he'd even go this size with 2x. I think people will bet smaller with 2x. So I was kind of I thought this was quite an easy call, but I want to know what you guys think. If you'd be calling here or not.
I
And
think
if you would calling, like, what kind of hands are you putting in want to call?
I think that the size of his bet would indicate to me maybe a little bit stronger actually. Given what stakes is this, 10 and 30?
Yeah, 15-30.
Well, where I play, typically that kind of Bovada, where people are more passive. It would depend on the read of the person, I think, for me, because if it's a passive player, I don't think I call that because I just don't think that they're.
Assume Riedler said it. Assume it's the first hand you play with him, because it effectively is to me, because I don't know anything about Sin at this point.
Yeah, if it would be a side call if I call, I would expect to either like chop or he's got a piece of it or a pocket pair. I would think it's a bluff less often.
What about you, James? Someone who's just coming to Zoom, and because I know, for those who don't know James loves his stats. He absolutely adores his stats.
I'm in horror here.
Yeah,
I'm strung out.
So what would you be thinking? Like,
well,
just putting that no
the
hood stats
sizing
aside.
Doesn't look like value. It looks more like he wants you to fold, doesn't it?
It looks to me like go on. Sorry, James, finish your point.
But if he thinks you'll call with any ace because you've got the two pair, he could size like that. If he'd fives or fours or something like that. So it's a tricky one, but it does look like he's wanting you to fold. So
if I was him, I would bet this size with an underpair to the board here, quite happily, because my range looks an awful lot like just ace high and king high, stuff like that.
Yeah, you've raised under the gun.
We haven't bet the flop, we've just called the turn. This isn't a line I would typically take with like aces, kings, queens, jacks, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So my hand looks like pocket threes, pocket fours, and ace high. So if he's a good player, he can get good thin value here, in my opinion, with like fives through nines quite easily.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if he's a bad player, how many like weak players do you think would use this sizing with something that isn't a seven, with just like a single like pocket pair? I don't think that many would. I think the key to this point is I was treating him as an unknown, so therefore I was going to assume he wasn't good until he proves to me he is good. And I was just thinking, well, I don't think many not good players would like bet this size with like a pocket pair. I think they're most likely going to bluff catch or put like a much weaker looking bet out, which is why eventually I decided to call, because I just didn't think he had a pair that often that would choose this sizing.
Yeah.
So that was my reasoning for it, and again, that's what we have to do when we haven't got hoods. We kind of have to just make an awful lot of assumptions, and usually my typical assumption with unknown players is they're going to be bad until proven otherwise. So I eventually, you can see I was putting a decent bit of thought into it. It wasn't just like a snap call. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I was still a bit undecided, but in the end, not sure how long I tanked for. He just turns up with that, which is like really nice then. And I'm not saying that, I'm not being result orientated there, but it's just my thought process genuinely was exactly how I've just described it. I don't expect many like non-regulars to be going for thin value there with pocket pairs. I think they're going to be check calling pocket pairs most of the time. So if they're check calling most of the pocket pairs, the betting range is pretty much going to be 7x or fuck all. I think a lot of the time. So if the range is 7x and nothing, then I think we have a good spot to call, because there's a lot more nothing that they can have than 7x, I guess. So that was my thoughts on that one. Please feel free to chip in. Jürgen, you haven't said anything much yet, sir. Feel free to just observe. It's fine. You don't have to get involved with the chatter.
Yeah, I just feel like if I say anything, it's very basic compared to what you guys are thinking.
Well, it doesn't matter though, mate. That's fine. It's for everyone. It's for. I don't want people to just be sitting there thinking, "Oh, I dare get involved because I'm not quite as good as these guys yet." The whole point of these sessions is you do get involved. You ask the questions that you think might be daft, because you might be asking a question you think's daft, and Ryan and Samir and James might think, "Fuck, thank Christ someone's asked that question," because I was sat there wondering, but didn't have the confidence to ask. So, yeah, just get involved, buddy. If you don't want to, that's fine. But,
yeah, sure.
I did want to say
if
something.
I have something to say, then
okay.
I'll say something.
But is that Ryan? You said you had something you wanted to comment on.
Yeah, about that last hand we were just talking about. I do see some play like that at Bovada as well when going against players that are less passive. It's like anytime you check, they sort of, at these stakes, will try to bluff at it, depending on the player type. And so, yeah, I can understand that line at this level, just from the line you took being somewhat passive, how he, just basically takes a stab at it on a scary board texture like that.
Well, that's a line I'll take when I'm out of position. If someone misses a c-bet, I will typically just try and put lots of pressure on them.
Yeah,
for the
so
turn
I can
river.
understand that play.
I do that a lot. I think it might come up in this video later on a couple of times. And people just fold a lot. When people check back flops on those types of board textures, especially regulars, more often than not, they're just kind of giving up with high cards. Not saying they're always doing that, but enough of the time to make bet flop, bet turn a really good line. And we would just flop quads here, by the way. So, what would you guys do with your quads here?
Check fold.
Check.
Yeah,
at least you can't lose to the straight flush that way, can you? Now, so that's one thing. You would check.
You want to let him catch up, don't you? I mean, there's not a lot he can have here. I suppose in the over pairs or a flush draw, but
you can have some straight draws too. I mean, that's somewhat of a wet texture, even though it is weighted totally to our sixes. But there's some things that could connect with that. But like he said, I don't know. I think you gotta either bet small to try to build a pot and see if he has any piece of it at all right now, or check and hope he takes a stab at it, tries to bluff you off with position, or let him catch up on the turn a little bit. Right,
so let's switch it around. What if you had ace 10 offsuit here? What would you do? Would you see bet ace 10 offsuit?
On snap, yeah.
You would.
More than likely not, I think. Well, maybe. It's sort of a 50-50 spot for me.
He misses that a massive percentage of the time.
See, I took the opposite view, James. I think this is a board that I wouldn't see bet bluff on, because I think I get called too often. And this is kind of why I wanted to switch it around, Instead of saying we had sixes, is this a board you'd consider bluffing on a lot out of position on that board texture against somebody who you think is a fish because of the stack size? And that's kind of how I looked at this. I ended up betting here when he folded, so I'll give you the spoiler on what happened. But I looked at this and thought I would just not bluff this board because I wouldn't expect to get enough folds. So that therefore, if I wouldn't bluff a board because I don't expect to get enough folds, to me it felt like a good spot to value bet, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
I don't know, I think all the fitter folds do fold it.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of things can fit here though, can't they? Any middle cards aren't folding. I know we block a lot of the middle cards because we've got two sixes. But any 8, 9, 9, 10, 8, 7, all the mid-suited connectors, 4, 5, they're all interested.
I don't think a couple of hearts is going anywhere either.
A couple of hearts isn't going anywhere, of course. Anyone with pocket 4s through pocket 9s isn't going anywhere. I don't know. To me, and I did bet and he did fold, and I was like, should I have checked quads? Because everyone checks quads. But I just thought on that exact
I like
texture,
your thoughts about sort of replacing that hand with ace 10 and going on that line of logic. You wouldn't bluff it here because you normally will get called in this type of situation. But I think just with the quads here, since it's so heavily weighted to us, we really, really don't want to fold on the flop. And sometimes you will get those folds with a hand like ace 10 on this type of board. So I just think it's not a board I would bluff at, but if I flop quads on it, I don't think I want to take the chance of running him out of the hand right on the flop. So I would probably check and try to let him catch up or bluff at it first, and then make a move on the turn.
Yeah, and I completely understand that logic. My major issue with it is we don't get to build a pot. If we check and he checks back, we've got to the turn with quads and there's 7 blinds in the pot. And it's a conversation I think I had with you, Samir, wasn't it, last week sometime, about we need to build bots. If we want to get big bets paid off on turns and rivers, particularly rivers, we need to start building pots. Now, this is a spot where you say that I'd flopped quads here with pocket 6s, and it was 6-6, say, jack, and there was no 2 suit. Then I can get on board with checking because there's nothing you can call with there, or there's a lot less you can call with there on such a dry board. I just thought of this board texture, and I'm not trying to bully you guys into my way of thinking because that's why we do the sessions, because I think it's interesting to get input from different people. But my thoughts just were that board texture's wet enough where I can expect to get calls on at least 2 streets. You know, and then I want to build a pot because if he's in there with some kind of like overpair or draw, I want to be able to get some big bets paid off later in the hand. So that was my thoughts. But I fully take on board what your guys' thoughts were. So if you, for example, to extend your thought, then if you check and he bets, then what's your line for the flop and the turn?
If I check and he bets,
Let's just say he bets 120.
Let's think about that for a minute. I'm probably
Because
gonna
when we
maybe
check,
call.
we've got to make a so you call, and then what would you do on the turn?
It would depend, I think, on what the card comes, but I would probably let him continue action and check to him. I know that's not the the line that's going to build the pot the quickest, but I'm not trying to run him out of the pot or take the bluffs out of his range on this type of texture either.
And that's kind of my issue with it, though, right? And I think in these games, people do run bluffs, of course they do. But typically, I don't want to be having a strategy that relies an awful lot on other people betting, because these games I do play quite passively. There's not a ton of aggression in these games compared to 25 and L on stars. These games are a walk in the park. They're super, super passive. So do I really want to have part of my strategy when I'm out of position of checking value hands in the hope that people I typically expect to be passive suddenly become aggressive? And that's my issue with the checking, because I accept we could think about check calling this flop, but then logic dictates we're probably going to check the turn and then hope people just start double barreling on like wet board textures.
In that case, I could get on board with, like, if he leads out, putting in a very small raise or even like a min raise because you have him marked as a fish. So he may think you're bluffing, and you'd also be giving him the odds to call, and you'd be building a pot. Even though that line is like the typical like nutted micro stakes line, I still wouldn't fault it. Just trying to build the pot, keep the odds swung in his favor to keep calling with whatever draws he has, even though you're taking quite a fishy line with it.
So if we're going for a check raise, then wouldn't it be better just be going bet for value?
I don't fancy a check raise.
I mean,
it relates to the last hand, whereas, we thought as soon as we don't bet, they start stabbing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
so we're thinking we check here that the population read I've got usually is that they'll just start stabbing at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think good regulars will. Good regulars and good players will. I think relying on fish to do it.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Is less likely. I think fish are more likely to bluff in 3-bet pots when you check to them, because they've just desperately tried to win the pot. I think in small pots, fish is like, I don't care. I've only risked 90 cents. I've missed completely. And you're also in the casino. People just literally, you can see them physically just give up with their hands. They're not interested anymore. They've given up. They're checking. They're looking around the room. They're having a drink. They literally do not give a shit because they've missed. They're not intending to try and win the pot at any point. And that's the problem I've got with like these types of fish, is I don't believe enough of them are out there trying to pick up pots against weak lines. Regulars will do, of course, but this guy isn't a regular. If I was checking to, like on table 2, if you look onto Super Miasnik, who I know is an aggressive regular, I might well decide to check quads to him, because he might just decide to triple barrel up me off like what he thinks is me showing weakness. Yeah. But I wouldn't do it against a fish, and that's kind of where I was with this. It turns out it didn't work out well for me because I bet and he just folded. But I think it's an interesting spot where we could take different lines against different player types. I didn't even make a big bet. I just bet like whether that was 2/3 pot, and he just snap folded. So whatever. But I thought again it was an interesting spot because it's a spot where a lot of people will just automatically check, and I think against different players we need to be doing different things. He does look like this Rue Polo, who have got a fish tag on, is reloading, but just a 20. So I still think it's a fish because he's not buying in full stack, so he can't be a good regular. But at the same time, I think this is an interesting spot. We'll pause it again. At the same time, he probably isn't a flat-out fish, because at least he is using auto-reload, and I don't know many fish that do that. What would you do here with King-Queen suited against an unknown with that stack size?
Putting us on the spot tonight.
I would probably raise here because I don't want maybe you do want Rupolo to come along because he's a fish too, but you're gonna.
Well, we think he is, but look at him now. He's at 2 tables. So Maybe my
Okay,
read's
so
not great.
I
Maybe
would probably raise to try to get to get horse push off the or excuse me to get him heads up.
but so
I'm
that
confused
case,
by the button. Is he on the button and you're
he's
in
on the
small
button, yeah.
Okay.
So would you?
Yeah, I
if
would
you're
just
going
try to get
raise,
heads up with him and try to get him more pod committed with a decent hand that draws.
so you're willing to stack off pre-flop here with king queen against somebody?
No, but I just want to
So we're going to
build
3-bet
the
fold then.
SPR up.
So you're
Yeah, I
going to
like-
3-bet fold then.
I like 3-bet folding because you're out of position.
But against that stack size though.
No,
you
I
really
wouldn't 3-bet fold. I mean, if he shoves over top, depending on what my bet size is, I might just call him because I think he's going to stack off pretty lightly. If you know what I mean. I don't know. That could be a wrong read, but against
let's say
short
I was
stacks, I just
confused.
don't give him a whole lot of credit for much.
This spot, I think, if there was a decent aggressive regular in the blinds, I think I would just commit 3-bet and stack off pre-flop against Horst. But with Ruo Polo in the big blind, who I thought isn't likely to squeeze, I thought it made give me like a few interesting options, because at first I was thinking, yeah, 3-bet, get it in. But then I thought, really, do I really want to get like nearly 30 blinds in? I think it's like 28 blinds, I think it's going to be. Do I really want to get 28 blinds in pre-flop with King Queen suited? And I didn't know. I genuinely didn't know. I thought it couldn't be terrible, but I'm not going to get it in good very often either. So I really wasn't sure. And what would you do here, James?
I would flat because, as you say, you've got him tagged a fish.
Yeah, and that's what I did. I flatted because I didn't think I was going to get squeezed. And if I'd have hit like any piece of it, so if I flop any kind of draw, or if I flop at like top pair, I'm just going to check raise all in. That was the plan. The plan was just flat, not expecting to get squeezed, and then check shove if I hit like an open ender or better. Only I didn't, and I flopped a good shot. And I was a bit pissed off because I wanted to call, but his stack's so small. I just folded it and thought, yeah, you didn't play that very well, Reg. Move on. That was that. But I didn't know what to do there. It was a bit awkward with his stack size.
I find when you 3-bet there, the original raiser folds and the
Yeah,
fish in the blinds calls.
Well, I think we can get plenty of folds. I think I played a hand the other night where somebody min raised off literally like 9 blinds, and I just jammed on it with pocket jacks or something, and they folded. So people do still fold, even when you think there's not an earthly chance they fold. Right, we've got a 3-bet out of position here against the guy. This is the guy who bluffed us earlier, or tried to bluff us with the Jack 9 suited. What's your thoughts with the Ace 3 suited?
It's in my 3-bet bluffing range.
4-bet bluffing range, I guess. You mean not 3-bet bluffing range? Because we've been 3-bet, haven't we?
Ah, okay. Sorry.
We've opened he's 3-bet, and we're going to be out of position for the rest of the
Yeah, I would just fold that. Me, personally. I don't want to get involved with, a hand that could likely be dominating me. Out of position.
Anybody for anything other than folding?
I just like to fold here.
Yeah.
I would fold.
Good stuff. Glad, because I wanted to fold too, and I did fold.
Too
I
big
kind
of
of,
a bet.
I did think about 4-bet bluffing him, because we have got the ace blocker, which is always nice. But then I didn't know him much. I'd seen him be aggressive earlier, and the last thing I wanted to do was start just like getting involved in pre-flop wars with unknowns who might just be a little bit on the spewy side. My overall strategy when I'm playing these games is usually keep pot small pre-flop and look to bloat them post-flop. So right, here we go. 4 deuce suited. I guess you know I'm going to play it because I paused it. Is anybody else playing it here?
No.
You know.
Never.
No.
I mean,
No,
do you know this guy?
He's a regular. That's all I know about him. I don't know that much about him. He's a regular, and I can tell you in approximately 2 minutes he doesn't like me very much. But
I mean, if you have a personal read on this dude, and you think that you can take the pot off him post-flop with position, honestly, I don't have a problem with it, because I've done that just with the power of the button against people that were pretty passive. And actually having them on my right, I got to take some pots from him with hands like 4 or 5 suited that I'm calling with just to see if it flops well, and they tend to just give up on pots if they're not connecting. So I mean, if you have a good plan for it, and you have some sort of read, I wouldn't fault it. But in a hand without a read against unknowns, I would probably just tend to fold here.
anybody else? I guess you're all folding. Which
Yeah,
I wouldn't blame
there's
you
just
for.
better hands to do it with.
Well, there is, but my population read is that people will just play so straight up out of position in fast four poker. I think I just want to play my button as often as possible. It doesn't matter that my hand's 4-2. It could be 4-2, 6-7, Ace-3 suited. I'm not going to do it with complete garbage. I'm not going to do it like Queen 7 off, King 5 off.
Just about to do it with 4-2.
Yeah, but it's much more playable in my opinion, though. You know, because we get to like flop some draws, some backdoor equity, all kinds of things that we can use to be creative with. And also, if you show up with like 4 deuce suited in a big pot with somebody, they're going to remember that for a long time, and they're going to really be off balance against you. And it's just what I've been doing a lot lately. If I've been having the button against just like well, any position opening really, I just want to play my button as much as possible, because I just think, James, as you well know, people just check fold a bunch in these games, or they'll like put weak flop bets out and then just check fold turns. And there's loads and loads of ways that we can, in my opinion, outplay people post flop just by having the button. Our cards, they're not irrelevant, but for me it's kind of irrelevant. I just want something that's just a little bit pretty, and I'm interested in playing my button.
But I know none of us are really into too much of this balance thing. But
no, I'm not. I couldn't give a fuck about
balance. If you're doing it with like 4-2 suited plus, you're doing it all the time, and it's, you know, folk will notice, isn't it, if they look at the database.
I'm not doing it all the time, because if I've got King 5 off suit here, I'm just throwing it in the muck.
But you'll be doing it with 3-5.
Oh, absolutely.
3-4, 4-5. You know what I mean? You'll be doing it.
My button cold calling range. Oh, sorry, not cold calling. My button calling range of calling opens is wide open. It really is. But think about it. That makes me quite hard to play against. I remember a guy I played used to play 100 L at like full ring tables back when I was like a bit more ballsy than I am these days. And it was called Boomer, so I can't remember what his name was. But he had like a ridiculous like call button open, and it used to make my life absolute fucking living hell. He really did, because I was betting into him, he was floating me, he was raising me, and it was just ridiculous. Even though I knew his button range was really fucking wide, it's just dead hard to play against him. It's really hard to play against people who have like wide calling ranges and who are like capable of just like messing around with your post flop. I mean, I'm not just doing this to play fit or fold. I'm doing this to like attack. I'm hoping to make a hand primarily, of some description. Secondly, I'm hoping that I attack weakness. Now, if he just bets the flop and then 3/4 pots the turn, I'm just going to let go and I'm done with it. But there's going to be tons of times when he like puts out like a maybe, I don't know, half pot bet on the flop and just checks the turn, or he'll make like a really weak turn bet. I just think there's going to be loads of opportunities to just win the pot. And you know, tons of people are going to watch this and they're going to say, what a fucking moron this guy is. But it's been working out really, really well for me. And I mean ridiculously well. I've been winning shit tons of pots, and occasionally been winning some absolutely massive pots, because people just don't put you on like low suited cards very often. They just don't do it. But
you're definitely doing it only against regs.
I'm not doing it against any fucker. Anyone who's got like a reasonable stack size. If they've got 100 big blinds or more, I'm doing it. If someone's only got like half a stack, I'm not doing it, because you need the stack depth there to be able to try and outplay people on later streets. You need to be in position and be able to take lines that can threaten their stack. You need the leverage. You can't do it against some guy here with like a $10 stack. I wouldn't even dream of doing it against some guy with a $10 stack. It's just a matter of I want to be at least 100 blinds deep, but even deeper is even better. The deeper the better, really. And then I'm just going to look to either make a hand, which doesn't happen very often, or just exploit people when they start showing weakness. Don't not exploit people, we'll just attack people when they start showing weakness. That's like my overall strategy.
I like it. It works at these levels well, I think.
Well, you're gonna like this even more in a minute. Because this one works out quite well for us.
Nice. Straight flush? No. Well, that's nice right there. You're about to stack this cat, huh?
So now what are we doing?
In position to me here.
Yeah, you could use it a little like a bluff.
I think that I'm raising. Well, it's hard to. It's between raising and calling, obviously, but you could call and see if he stabs again, and if not, you know, just keep building the pot. Or you could raise him here if you're putting him on the top of his range and thinking he's gotten overpaired to the board and is going to call you, because he's not going to be putting you on a deuce. So, like, he may think that you're playing like, if he's got kings or queens or aces or something, and he thinks you're betting into him with, you know, 10s, 9s, 8s, you're going to get stacks in here quickly. So
but here's
it's-
my problem here is, I guess, and I'm not saying I'm famous because I'm fucking far from it. I'm a nobody. But there are plenty of people. I look at my YouTube analysis, and there's tons of people from like Eastern Europe who watch quite a lot of my videos, and I know people that do watch them. And people say, sometimes people are polite and say hello at the table. Other times people say that I fucking suck. But basically, I know people watch. So even though he's an unknown to me or virtual unknown, I'm not necessarily unknown to him, so he might know I'm a regular. He might not know. He might not know me from fucking Adam. Who knows? But with my mate doing like lots of these videos, I do know there's plenty of people that watch them. So there's that to take into account. If he like knows I'm a regular, if I raise, he's probably going to know that I'm not raising like pocket eights here, for example. But if he doesn't know I'm a regular, then then it's a different kettle of fish. So there is that to throw in there. But I'm not expecting you to answer that because I don't know the answer to it either. It's a complete unknown. I've no idea
It'd be better
what
to raise it if it was suited, because they'd think you were in the flush draw, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I did end up raising just because he's a regular, and when you see a raise on this board, it looks bluffy as shit, James, as we've talked about many times,
Yeah. I've personally
typically,
never.
It's like Ryan said, we shouldn't have a deuce here. There's not many deuces we can have. Ace deuce maybe, and then unless we're playing these sort of hands, deuce isn't in our range. And would we ever raise pocket fives? Or theoretically, you see, like every time you read a forum, you've locked the nut full house. People say don't raise. It's very rare you see advising somebody to raise. So if my population read is regulars wouldn't expect me to raise with a strong hand here, so therefore they would see a raise rather as like a weak range than a strong range. I thought I'd like reverse that, if you will, and that's why I get from reading forums. I don't necessarily agree that we should always slow play here, but if I think I'm up against a regular who's going to be thinking along the lines of a typical moderate regular, he's going to, when I raise here, if he's going to re-bluff me sometimes, he's going to try and re-bluff me thinking I'm bluffing. But he's just not going to put me in a really strong hand because the overall population here is not raising quads, trip twos, or pocket fives here very often.
See, that caught me out moving to Sky, because as you say, in Stars, they would slow play a hand there. You know what I mean? They would never fast play that, let you catch up. So,
Yes.
So when they were fast playing them in Sky, I wasn't believing them. You know what I
No, I'm
mean?
a big fan of
Stacked
fast
them
play
at
when I
4
flop well.
times.
Because I'm pretty aggressive post flop anyway. So if I'm like in here, like betting and again I don't care about balance, but I mean if I'm going to be like betting and raising a lot with area and like some backdoor equity, I may as well be raising with my nutted hands too. So I did go for the raise, I think, if I remember correctly. Don't think I made it huge though. And then he rather generously 3-bets me, I think.
nice.
I think he does anyway. Don't remember taking this long in live play. So now what?
I would
Yeah, flat it.
yeah, like I'm flatting because I don't want to take bluffs out of his range. If you come over the top here, if you make that raise on the assumption he's going to make it think it looks like a bluff, if you come over the top here, I don't think he can think it's a bluff anymore.
I agree. I think this is like quite an easy call. But I did cross my mind to raise, just because again I think a call sometimes looks stronger than a raise here.
Well, I think too, like you've now bloated the pot with really really nice hand, and you have position, so there's much more incentive for him to fight for it. So I would expect him to be more liberal with his betting and his calling of your bets now. And I just think that you're going to be able to get more money in on the later streets by calling here and letting another card come out rather than pushing him out all of his bluffs.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we've done our job. We've bloated the pot enough where if he's got a real hand, it's going to be no bother getting stacks in. I guess my concern would be if like an ace or something come off and he's got pocket tens or pocket jacks. We are risking that, but it's just such a small chance. There's maybe, well, who knows what, a 25% chance like an overcard, like a big picture card's going to come off. That would scare maybe some of his like tens and jacks and things, but at the same time, I think you're right. I think call is easily the best option. just to allow him to continue being aggressive on the turn. I'm trying to now rep. I'm trying to look like I'm a fish who's got like a middle pair or something and doesn't know what to do, so just calls because they don't know better. So I did do a bit of the old fake Hollywood, but I was genuinely thinking a little bit too about whether to raise or not.
Oh wow!
We just put a cheeky cherry on the cake there, just in case he does have the ace deuce. You know, it just locks it up. And then I think he makes a relatively small bet. So, wow, would you call this or would you jam it? Ours is the effective stack. He's got us covered, so we don't need to see his stack size.
Okay, he's got you covered. Okay.
Yeah, he's got me covered. So ours is the effective stack.
Wow, it's tough here. I mean, you can call and then hope he fires on the turn and raise him then.
No, he's on. We are on the. Yeah, I understand.
That's probably what I would do. Because the SPR after your call is going to be like basically 1-to-1 or less.
It's going to be way less. It's going to be like Christ knows what. We're going to have about 2/3 pot left, I think.
Yeah,
What's
when
SPR?
we call here, there's going to be 35 in. There's going to be 20 left in stacks, isn't there?
Yeah, so I think if you just call here, the money's going to go in on the river.
Did somebody ask what SPR was then?
Yeah, I've never heard about that.
It's stack to pot ratio, buddy. It's how much is left in our stack compared to the pot. So if
Okay.
we've got, say, $20 in our stack and there's $10 in the pot, the stack to pot ratio is 2. So there's 2. So we've got like double the pot in our stack. If the pot is $20 and we've got $20 in our stack, then the stack to pot ratio is 1. It's just basically it's an indication of like how much money's left to play for, how deep stack we still are, and the lower the number, the more likely it is that someone's going to be committed to the hand. So if your stack to pot ratio is like 10, so if there's like I don't know $10 in the pot and 100 in the stacks, you're not going to be able to get someone to stack off very light. But if the stack to pot ratio is 1 or less than 1, usually people are getting close to being committed. So that's all that means.
Okay.
Okay, bud?
Yep.
So anyway, Ryan, you were saying just call Ryan, and I think I agree with you. But would anybody jam here? Because at this point, what do you think he's got at this point?
I think he's playing an overpair to the board, and it's harder to put him on a bluff. But then again, this bet does look a little bit scared, or it could look like value. So it's kind of polarized to me. Like he's either got a bluff or he's got a strong hand that's an overpair to the board. And I wouldn't want to push him out by raising. I would just call and then try to get more money in on the river.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think he's doing something like this with some kind of like middle impair, like 8s through 10s, something like that. I don't think he's doing that. I think once we call him on the flop, I think he's going to slow down a heck of a lot with his like middle impairs. Not that I think he always takes that line with middle pairs on the flop, but on the off chance he just decided to pop me again to protect his hand or whatever the hell he might have been thinking. Well, I don't think he chooses his size on the turn. I think you're right. I think on the turn here, he's either just continuing to bluff and trying to do it really cheap, or more likely he's just got like a pair that he's happy to bet this small because it doesn't prevent him jamming the river, because he's going to be left on the river with like $20 into 35, so it's not going to prevent him jamming. I would have preferred to see him make it a little bit bigger if he was trying to set up a jam, but I think his size is fine. So obviously we just call. I think we do anyway. Well, I did Hollywood this fucker, didn't I? I didn't half Hollywood it. And that's a bit of a shit river in a way, because I mean, some things did get there, but anyways, he called and didn't slow roll, just snapped him off. And yeah, he wasn't really happy. He puts a comment in chat to me a couple of tables later. But we do get in another spot with him coming up soon, which I think is quite interesting. So bear in mind that history there, because in the next 5 minutes or so, I think we're going to get in another spot with him, where I think the history of what he might think of me is somewhat relevant.
Okay. I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, I was genuine. I was like, shit, what do we do? You know, I wasn't sure if I was going to set him off or not, but yeah, it was interesting.
What was his name?
His name was Zurgi or something. I better make sure I remember the hand, so I'll make sure that we give it full justice. And we might make that the last hand, because we've already done 4. Wow, the time's flown in. We might make the next hand against him the last hand, because I think it's like the last interesting hand of the session anyway. I think it kind of. I was playing this at lunchtime when I first started. I don't know whether they had a server restart or something, but the games were super fishy. There were like 30 people in the pool and not many Eastern Europeans. And then the longer the session went, the more the pool started to fill up, and it filled up a lot with regulars and not so much with fish. So
Did you just
it wasn't
fold
the longest
that
of sessions.
queen flush draw there on the right hand side?
Let me see.
Yeah, I like that fold there.
Let me see. Have I gone far enough back? Do we know? Don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
we
it was
have,
after this, yeah.
Was it after the fives? Was it?
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
No, I think it was before this. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was because I was looking at the queen eight afterwards. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes,
it is,
yes.
yeah.
I did fold it. Yeah, I think. Let's just. Yeah, I think if I had the ace of spades here, I would see bet for sure. But
Yeah.
I just think with that the nut flush draw on like a really coordinated board,
Multi.
I wasn't very excited by the situation because I think we can make our hand here and just get fucking slaughtered.
Yeah, especially
I think
being
we
out
should-
of position too.
I think we get to win like plenty of like small to medium-ish size pots here, but I think if it's ever a big pot, I think we're usually going to be about fucked. That's my take on it. Now let's see how the hand played out because I don't remember exactly how it played out. I think I just check fold.
Yeah, it's
before?
check
Yeah,
fold here. I'm totally on board.
You'd have see bet the ace of spades.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would have seen at the ace of spades. Yeah, I did just check fold. Now this could be like really quite weak, but I've been having tons and tons of success by just the minute I don't like a situation, I've just been playing like quite tight in it,
Yeah.
and just not really, just trying to just keep the back door shut, not pay off, because one of the absolutely biggest leaks every single one of us has is we pay off too much.
Yeah.
We end up like getting in like medium to large size pots with like relatively not particularly strong hands, and then just getting really confused and ending up paying off too much. And this is a spot where I thought, well, I can't see bet because I'm not going to get that many folds on that. People aren't going to fold a pocket pair on that board. They're not going to fold a gut shot too often. They're not going to fold an open end there. Yeah, we can get some value from worse spades, but we can also own ourselves against better spades. And it's just one of the spots where, yeah, it's a spot where tons of people would just see bet because you've got two overs and like a reasonably good flush draw. But I just thought I'm going to try and see me free cards. If someone's aggressive, it's just a spot I'm prepared to let go. And I'm aware how weak tight that might look. But I'm not playing weak tight in other spots. It's just a spot where I'm out of position. I don't like the situation much, and typically, if I'm out of position on the flop and I don't like the situation, things are typically only going to get worse for us. We're going to like the situation less and less as the hand goes on.
You can also be drawing dead too here.
Yeah, we could be drawing dead. We could be, if we call here, we miss a turn. We're going to have to check fold a bunch of the time. If we call and hit, we're kind of hoping that the pot doesn't get too big. If we call and hit, are we really going to hope he starts like barreling off on us? You know, we're probably not going to feel that comfortable if he goes like 3/4 pot turn, 3/4 pot river. Then we're just going to bluff catch with like the third nuts, which isn't the worst thing to do. But in games where we talk about where games are like particularly passive, I don't expect people to barrel off as a bluff here if the spade comes very often. So I don't think I ever get to win a decent sized pot, but I think I frequently get to lose one. So yeah, it's a bit weak. I understand that. I'm fully out.
No, it makes a lot of sense. It's just, to me, it was an auto C-bet. But
Yeah,
now you're saying it makes sense.
And tons of people disagree with that. There'll be tons of regulars who would just C-bet this, or they certainly wouldn't check fold it. It's just a spot to me. The minute I don't like a spot out of position, I'm usually just giving up with it these days, because one of my biggest leaks, when I had my reasonable downswing on Sky in March, I was just fucking paying off like fuck, and my thoughts would come back to snap, play really, really solid poker, and just make it really hard for people to get chips out of me. So playing out a position with marginal hands was one of the spots I decided to just cut my losses early in hands rather than get deep into a hand and never really quite know where I am in the hand. Yeah. So anytime I was a bit nervous, anytime I was a bit like dubious, a bit anxious, a bit nervous, call it what you will, I just cut my losses early and try not to play out of position too often. So yeah, that is definitely on the weak tight side, but I'm comfortable enough with it.
No, because there is a ton of times you've got the one card queen high, and they've got the ace.
Did you?
Yeah, they've got
And
the
it's
ace, they've got the
expensive.
king.
Did you open under the gun with this queen eight?
No, I
Yo, you're in the big blind. Okay.
yeah, he just limped in.
Oh, okay.
I decided not to 3-bet the fives here against Sin, Because again, every time I've seen during this session, he seemed to be doing something aggressive, so I didn't want to 3-bet him because I didn't know how spewy he was. So I think it's a very easy check raise, but I think this doesn't take much talking about, I don't think, because I think everyone's check raising here, aren't they? I would imagine.
Yeah.
Again, Hollywood the fuck out of it. I probably need to work on that a little bit. I don't want to be Hollywooding too much. It's not necessarily Hollywood, no. I'm just making sure and thinking everything through, because I got into a really bad habit on Sky, and you'll be aware of this, James, where the time bank's against you, so you just rush all your thought processes.
Yeah.
It's something I've talked to Ryan about taking your time.
Even the bet sizing at times,
really
you're running
thinking
out of time.
it through. Yeah, so you just make really bad bet sizes too. And that's something I've talked to Ryan about on a few sessions and we'll be making for Grinder School, about really taking your time. So if I'm advising people to take the time, and then when they watch me play, I'm just not taking my time, it makes me look like a right wobblehead, doesn't it? You know, I don't want to be like do as I say, not do as I do type of thing. So yeah, I do definitely take more time than most regulars, even on quite easy spots. I just want to make sure I've given like every angle, every piece of thought.
I think it's a really good discipline to get into. Because if you do it with the easy spots, you get into habit, and you'll do it with the difficult spots. It's something I really need to work on.
Is I'll sit and think, right, you know what, right, I'm going to do this here. So I'm going to raise, I'm going to bet or something. So I'll line the bet up, I'll make the bet, I'll like get the slider where I want it, and then I'll go to the table and like do whatever I need to do under the table, just to give it another couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Just to sink into my like subconscious, just to make sure that I don't get any like, oh shit, am I really sure that's the right thing? Because how often do you make a bet and think, oh fuck, I wish I hadn't done that. So I'm kind of like trying to stop myself from doing that and just taking that bit of time. Yeah, it pisses people off probably that I'm tanking more than usual, but whatever, I don't care, I'm here for me, and I'm here to do the best by myself. So anyways, are we going to squeeze this ace queen, or are we going to call with it?
Do you know Barracus?
I think
nope, I don't know Barracus at all. Again, the problem is I might have known him, I might have had notes on him on my previous on 888, but when they did the update, all my notes have gone, so I don't know him by name.
It's a big blind, that guy. You just
the big blind is the guy who doesn't like me very much, but my main focus here is this whatever the fuck his name is, Dr. Gish. You know, it's against him, and I think the question here is, if we squeeze, are we then going to be committed to call it off against Dr. Gish? So therefore, the question is, do we squeeze and call it off? Do we squeeze and fold, or do we just call? I think if we squeeze and then Baracus 4-bets, I think it's a really easy fold. But against Dr. Gish, what are you thinking?
Well, that's the right thing you want, isn't it? You want the egg, then the fish, don't you?
Yeah,
there's more chance of the egg folding. If it's all the way about, you would flat it. The trouble is, if you call here, the other two can call in with odds, can't they? So you've got to 3-bet it, squeeze it.
Yeah. So are you choosing a size that allows you to 3-bet fold against Dr. Gish, or are you choosing a size that just says, you know what, if Dr. Gish, if you jam on me, I'm just going to call it off and accept that it's not a great spot, but I'm getting the right price given, you know, like the odds I'm going to be getting.
I think that if you 3-bet I would probably 3-bet a size that gives me the most fold equity to just steal the dead money, and then if Dr. Gish goes in, I think I wouldn't be elated, but I think that Ace Queen is going to play quite well against his flatting range of a double of the blind raise. So he's not showing that his hand's very strong.
Yeah, I see lots of players like Dr. Gish here who will call with pocket eights and then just give up and jam when someone like squeezes because they won't know what else to do. So yeah, I agree with you there. I think if Dr. Gish goes in, I think we're going to sigh and call and expect to be flipping a lot of the time, and maybe even sometimes be ahead. You know, not very often, but sometimes. So, what size would you make it with that in mind?
I'll probably bump it up to like 3.5 to like 4 times. So
what about
maybe even a little bit more, like $2.80, $3.
And what about you, Jorgen? I'm conscious that you haven't spoke for a while, but I don't want you to feel like your nose is being pushed out.
Well, I would definitely bet more. I would never just check it, but I guess like double the pot.
So you'd make double. So you'd make it 330.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough. And Samir, you still there, bud?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. What was your thoughts here?
I like what Ryan was saying. I like the sizing to make it where we can just steal the dead money in the pot.
So obviously, yeah, we want to make it a size where hopefully Baracus gets out of the way, and then we just do whatever against Dr. Gish. So yours like kind of along the same lines as everybody else, so around the $3 mark, something like that. You wouldn't go smaller than $3.
No, probably not.
No, I'm not sure what I did, to be honest with you, and I made it exactly $3, which I'm happy enough with that. This is where our friends
See that?
I started typing hello to him to be friendly, and then he just abused me. So I just said thank you instead. So then we get that the worst case scenario, we get called in both spots, and I don't actually remember what I did here. So
Well, I think we have a gut shot here with 2 overs.
2 overs.
So we have decent equity to continue aggression and not give up initiative, but at the same time, that's like as wet as it fucking gets. So I just I don't think you get a lot of folds there.
Yeah, I think that board texture is fucking horrendous for us to see into 2 players. I think it's like, I couldn't imagine if you just said to me a worse board, maybe 9-10 Jack would be like even worse, but I hope, and I don't remember because I do have a history of sometimes spewing in 3-bet pots, so I hope I don't bet here. I think checking and just giving up is fine here, and just hoping to bink.
Yeah, and even actually, if you hit your queen, that could actually be like reverse implied odds for you because you could be completing somebody straight there.
So now, what are we thinking?
I'm thinking like
You've got to call because you can 4-1 nearly.
I think I might raise here.
Raise?
Yeah, because maybe it's possible he's taking a stab because of the money out there. We turned equity, and so there's some cards coming that could help us. But then again, also with being in position, I mean, calling and then seeing what happens on the river, I'm not against either. Might even be the more safe play here, because honestly, I don't know if you're going to be able to get Baracus to fold. Thinking about it now, so yeah, I mean, I would probably just call too, but I wouldn't fault an aggressive person. I think for putting in a raise to put pressure on him.
I've been known to raise here a lot. I think calling's easily the best option because, as Jay said, we're getting such a ridiculously good price. We're still not getting quite the right price unless we think our like ace is going to be good too. But yeah, I think raising, and I've been known to raise. I've turned equity and just fucking spew my ring up, and like just raised to like 14 here and side call when he shoved on me. But I just think he's made it easy for us with his bet sizing. I think, and I think I just call.
I'm sure Zigger Wuss has probably sat out watching how this hand plays out.
He'll be rooting. He'll be fucking rooting for Baracus.
He's got 5-3.
He's got a Baracus hat and scarf on right now. You know, he's really fucking massively rooting for him. And then this river, I think he does something weird here, and I felt like a virgin.
Yeah.
So
See, that's always hard to understand too. It's like a scared blocker bet.
Of course it is.
But it could also be like a smart player trying to induce a bluff when they're really strong. Like if he has Jack 9 here and he's putting you on, Ace King.
Historically, I have gone off in these spots more times than I care to fucking remember. And it just set me off, and I'll just be like, boom, you can't handle a raise, and they just call anyway. Yeah, this sizing's really, because I felt really, really weak here.
It feels like he's got a pair of 9s or a pair of 8s or something that just wants to get the showdown but doesn't want to call off a lot of money. But
yeah, he might even have something as strong as queens. It's unlikely because we blocked the queens, but yeah, I think he's definitely like got some kind of weird value hand. It is definitely some really shit block bet. But the amount of times I've gone for the raise here over these block bets, and then they've just not folded anyway, and you just look at a massive tick because you're giving like an extra $20 fucking away or something.
Right. That's the problem, is that a lot of them don't want to fold it. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
You really don't have any fold equity to raise, but you can't really fold for that price, I guess.
I mean, how many times have we talked in the group about bet folding and how hard it is? So people don't like to bet fold very often. And we spoke loads of times about we should always fold to river raises at the nuts, or nearly always fold to river raises at the nuts, because people just aren't raising rivers at the nuts very often in these games. So we know that, but I don't believe many players do, and I don't think we could get. I mean, if I'm raising here, I'm hoping he folds everything except full houses. I'd try to make him even fold a jack here, and I don't think we do. So, like I say, I just felt like a little bit of a scared virgin.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
folded.
your line didn't indicate like great strength either, so I don't even think you have much fold equity actually.
No, I don't think so as well. I think it looks like a lot of bullshit if we raise this river.
Yeah,
I would have a really hard time playing that hand myself.
Yeah, well, I don't like it, Jorgen. I really don't. No one likes folding the river when they're getting like 6-1 on the call.
Yeah,
I
I think I would do
not
the
nice.
same thing as you, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you have to. We have to check back the flop because it's too coordinated. We have to call the turn because we're getting the right price. And here's that interesting hand coming that we're going to end the video on.
See, I think like
So-
if you raise that turn though, like when you turn that equity, I really think you push him off marginal shit. Depending, you know what I mean?
I don't think we push him off top pair. I don't think we push him off top pair. I don't think we push him off an over pair. If he's got a 10, I don't think we push him off it. I just don't think we get enough to fold on that board texture, especially given that we didn't c-bet the flop. What story are we trying to tell where we don't c-bet the flop, but then we raise the turn on a board of that texture?
Yeah, I get it.
That's my issue with it. I just don't think the story we tell
Well,
makes any sense.
Like a stupid player, a non-thinking player may consider that like a trap because they don't understand the dynamics of board texture and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know how Baraka is going to take to it, do we? We don't know. He might just have like 2 queens there and just think they're nuts and just never fold them. Anyways, here we are. The last time we're going to do in the video. This is our friend again, who we have the 4 deuce suited.
Love this guy.
We know he doesn't like us because he's just basically called us out for the 4 deuce play. So what are you doing here with the 10-9 suited?
I'm definitely calling here because we have position on him. Wait, who's got the button? Him?
He's got the button.
All right, it's so hard for me to. It's on the other side at my place. So, all right, so we don't have position, but I'm probably still gonna call here just to like see a flop with this hand to try to see if I get some tilt action from him, and then just fold if it doesn't go well for me and on the flop. I'm not gonna 3-bet bluff him. That's for sure because I'm not gonna get a bunch of folds from a tilted person that has position on me, but. I think I would speculate in this flop just to see and call, and I'd flat it, hoping Paul came along, with his short stack, and hope I flop well.
Anyone else for anything else? Would anyone else 3-bet? Would anyone fold? I mean, I don't think fold is the question.
He'll never fold to 3-bet, won't he? So you're just bloating the pot with 10-9 suited.
Yeah, I think I butchered this one just a little bit because I decided that I wanted to really create a dynamic with him while he was tilted. And that I just wanted to get in his face. I didn't expect him to 4-bet bluff me very often, so I wasn't worried about being 4-bet. And I'm not convinced this is a good play at all.
I think this is a hand that if I were bet against by 2 players, I would have such a hard time continuing with the hand, even though it's suited connectors.
Yeah, well, at the minute we don't know what Paul's doing, do we? All we've seen so far is a regular open the button, which. I'm going to assume if he's a good regular, he's got quite a wide range for doing it. Now, I don't mind 3-betting this hand in normal circumstances, but given the very recent dynamic, I think I make a mistake here. But yeah, you're right. I didn't want to fold here. I just didn't want to. I just wanted to create a dynamic with him where we could really play some quite big pots, but this isn't the best time to do it with, and I think, definitely, I got a little bit overexcited, but there's no shame in my game, and we all make mistakes. I think I'd definitely make one here. I don't think it's the worst mistake in the world. You can see me think, I genuinely was thinking to call or 3-bet, and then the little devil inside me got the better of me, and we just flopped them again. we just flopped the world against him. So right. This board texture, it's just a board texture we typically see bet in a 3-bet pot.
Because I've got the HUD, I've got the fold to c-bet.
Yeah,
3-bet.
I know you have.
I bet about 80% in 3-bet pots.
But it's just, I would never bluff here, for example, but, I think we need to c-bet here, because we've flopped really, really well. And I would c-bet or we overpairs for sure here, like jacks through aces, I'm going to c-bet. And I think the only issue is what size would you choose when you c-bet here? Because I know a lot of people like the half-pot c-bet in 3-bet pots rule. And I don't mind that, but on these board textures, can we move away from that rule? Can we make like larger bets, or would you still stick with the size that balances?
If I missed, I would half pot only need to work 1 out of 3, doesn't it? So
you would still, if you had like Ace Queen here with that Ace Queen offsuit with no club, would you still see bet this board?
On stars, sorry, yeah, on stars. On here against anonymous people, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have the balls to. I don't remember what I'd do here now, actually. Genuinely don't. But I do remember it gives me another volley load of abuse in the fucking chat, so it's all good. I think I make quite a big C bet. 3-2 suited this time. He doesn't like me much. I quite like the fact he doesn't like me. That's a shit turn, by the way. What do you think now? Because that isn't a great turn. We've still got like 2 pair, obviously. But that turn, I think it hurts us quite a bit.
Yeah.
So what would you be doing here?
I would still go for it against them.
Yeah, I think going for it's the best play. I mean, King Jack's got there, which I don't think he has very often. I don't think he can have too many 2 pairs. Queen 10, I guess, is one he could have, but I guess he's only really got Queen 10 suited, so would that be Queen 10 diamonds, Queen 10 spades, I guess. So yeah, I think I went for it. I just thought it was quite a fun hand, given what's happened against him before then. And I just made like a massive bet, and he called, and then obviously I think the river's a really easy jam on that.
You think to be 3-4,
and I was quite excited by it all. I'm actually going to finish on this last hand here. We'll go back now and review this aces. This is the longest video I've ever made for YouTube, I think. We'll go back and review this aces now. So I've raised the aces, been called by somebody who again is unknown to me. I hope I see a bit here. I'm not sure if it's an interesting hand or not, to be honest with you. It was just playing out at the same time. I don't remember it, so I'm going to presume it wasn't that interesting. Right, he's raised. So what's your line here when he raises with aces?
flat it.
On that board texture?
Yeah, I'd raise it. It's too wet.
See, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I like it, James, in a way, but then we're relying on some fucker not just taking a free card on the turn, aren't we? So I didn't know. This is one of the spots I was like, shit, I've been raised on the flop. Typically, I did my own advice ringing around my ears. When we get raised post-flop in a single raised pot, all the things I always say to people, when we get raised a single raised pot, we should usually respect it and, like, you know, maybe think about folding. But then the sizing here, I kind of just thought it's bullshit. But I didn't know what to do. Genuinely didn't know what to do. I thought he was maybe just fucking around a bit with the sizing on this board texture. But I think he's too small just to call. If he'd made it bigger, I think I might have called. But with this sizing, I just didn't know. It kind of confused me because it's like such a weird size. It's like a min raise plus 2 big blinds.
Yeah.
So, and I genuinely don't remember what I did now. I think if I look back at it now, I'd like to see myself raise. I do remember now. Yeah, you're not going to be happy with it. I'm not happy with it. In memory now, I think I was like kind of still a bit exhilarated from the other table. And look at the fucking size of it. It's an awful size. I just went for it. I just thought, fuck it. I'm hoping he's got an overpair. And I just went for it. But that size is fucking appalling, isn't it?
It's nearly 4x.
Yeah. I've completely fucked up with my size in there. In hindsight now, I wish I'd just like 3-bet it to, like, I don't know. It's anywhere between like 850 to 950, I guess, would be fine. Because I'm out of position, so I want to make it a little bit bigger. But yeah, that is a fucking butchering and a half. Yeah. I think it was maybe just feeling me oats from that 10-9 suited. I think I thought I was king of the world, you know, and I couldn't go wrong. And yeah, he just folds, and I just really regret making a fucking horrendous sizing. But there you go. As I said, there's absolutely no shame in my game. I make mistakes pretty often. I just hopefully don't make as many as my fellow players. So there we go. Thanks for that, lads. I really, really enjoyed that video.
No, that was really good. It was really informative.
Yeah, I enjoyed
awesome.
it. It
Very,
was good fun.
very
Especially with
thought-provoking.
Rutgers. Yeah, good stuff. So thank you very much, guys. I'll send you the links.
So you're going to stick this on YouTube? So I'm going to watch it again, as I say.
Yes.
Made
This will
me
be on
think
Just to
YouTube.
hear your
A couple
all
of things, yeah.
points.
No, I hate
this-
that,
this-
by the way. I hate Glasgow
Yeah.
accents. Hate them. But
You get
You
used
get
to
used to
hearing yourself though on
Yeah,
recordings.
I hated hearing my own voice at first, but I don't care.
Then you fucking
So anyway,
love
yeah.
it, don't you?
Now, don't say I love it, but I just get by with it these days. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. I appreciate that, and yeah, I'll let you know when it's up and posted.
Okay, thanks. Cool.
Bye bye for now.
Bye bye.
See ya.